This is a true life story. On a sunny day in 1964, Gerhard Pistor, an Austrian journalist, asked his travel agency to contact Pan American World Airways, or Pan Am, to book a trip to the moon. The now-defunct airline accepted the reservation and said that the first moon missions will begin in the early 2000s, and once it starts, he would be amongst the first to travel. This little act started a years-long space tourism marketing stunt, during which 93,000 people signed up for Pan Am's first Moon Flights Club, which was a waiting list for the first civilian trips to the moon. Of course, that never happened, and everyone who invested any money kissed their money goodbye. However, that partially began the birth and the idea of space tourism for civilians. But before we get into that, do us a favor and hit the subscribe button to subscribe to our channel. We always upload quality and informative videos like this that keep you wanting more. Thank you. After the Apollo era, private companies looked for ways to send civilians into space instead of NASA pilots, who were of course government workers. In the 1970s, Rockwell International, a contractor for NASA's space shuttle program, looked into the possibility of passenger modules that could fit in the cargo bay of the space shuttle. Other companies came up with similar ideas over the next 10 years. But none came to fruition. NASA did open up its space flights to non-government workers though, mostly as payload specialists, who were hired to complete specific in-flight projects by companies other than NASA. NASA also developed the Teacher in Space and Journalist in Space programs to open up spaceflight to several civilians annually. But the program stopped after the Challenger disaster in 1986, which killed Krista McAuliffe, the first person to take part in Teacher in Space, and her 6 crew members. And for a while, no one wanted to bring back the program until 2001. A rich man by the name of Denis Tito launched aboard a Russian Soyuz spacecraft in 2001 and spent more than a week on the International Space Station, ISS, at an estimated cost of $20 million. He was the first true space tourist. With the flight of Tito to the International Space Station in 2001, space tourism finally took off. That trip was set up by a company called Space Adventures, which also sent 8 other space tourists to the International Space Station on Russian Soyuz ships between 2004 and 2009. Fast forward to the future, not the 2000s as predicted by Pan Am, but the 2010s or 2020s. And we can certainly see that space tourism has also developed along with the space age. We are currently in a new era of space tourism, in which an increasing number of everyday people are using private companies that specialize in such activities to leave Earth for small periods of time. Though, regular long-duration space vacations will become a reality in the ensuing decades. That means it is only a matter of time, but you could spend your month-long vacation in space. Various governments have helped create a thriving industry that has brought about the start of new space companies, like Virgin Atlantic or Blue Origin. Because there are more of these businesses, there is greater competition, which drives down prices and improves the standard of what is being supplied to customers. Space tourism is becoming more affordable. The price of flying into space has decreased drastically over the past 10 years. There are now companies that offer suborbital flights for as little as $50,000 to $400,000, so that's a good thing for space tourism. The era of commercial space tourism is already here. In 2022, a 4-person civilian crew visited the International Space Station. The 4-person crew includes Commander Michael Lopez Alegria, age 63, and was a retired NASA astronaut and Axiom's Vice President of Business Development, Larry Connor, a 72-year-old real estate entrepreneur, Mark Pathy, a 52-year-old Canadian businessman, and Eitan Stibe, a 64-year-old Israeli pilot. All retired and civilians now, and the trip was a successful one. They paid a whopping sum of $55 million per seat. Now there are orbital planes that would launch every 2 months or so. The next set of space tourists is anticipated to fly in 2023 or 2024. The trip is expected to last 6 weeks, with stops at the ISS and numerous other orbital locations around the Earth. By 2025 or 2026, flights with civilian crews lasting 3 months will be common, carrying up to 12 passengers. And finally, with enough money and resources, civilian cruise ship to Mars could be possible by 2030 or 2031. Space tourism is still in its early stages, and there is still a lot to do. Existing suborbital companies are still making changes to their launch vehicles and launching more often to get closer to a normal schedule, while new companies are waiting for FAA approval to start their operations. That being said, the milestone achieved in space tourism is already phenomenal, and it can only get better and cheaper from here. That's all we have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, then you will certainly enjoy this video on the future of space travel for humanity. Is the future for space travel bright or not? Watch the video to find out. Before you head on to watch the video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to subscribe to our channel if you're not subscribed, and the like button so we know you loved it. Also, hit the little bell so you get notified when we post new space-related videos like this just for you. Thank you for watching. Till next time.